Good morning. Well, good morning. Hey, Sue. Back a friend because we're about to begin. Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, good morning, good morning. This is Cup of Joe, and this is the Cup of Joe Morning Show. We do this every Wednesday, guys. Every Wednesday morning, 10 o'clock Central Standard Time, up until the high noon hour. So I'm excited about it. And my broadcast just failed. I don't know why. It just does that kind of stuff, man. You see how it does me? I'm sitting here ready to go.
It plays games with you every week. I don't understand. I wish we could figure that out.
Let me just, the devil is such a liar, man. It's like every time something different, but the same nonsense.
Good morning, everybody. This is the Cup of Joe Morning Show, everybody. I'll put the banner up so you can know exactly what you're about to get into. We'd love for you to learn how to purchase a home. We'd love for you to learn the do's and don'ts of purchasing a home. And that's what this show is about. It's not only about that, though. It's about personal development. It's about financial wisdom. It's about purchasing home and purchasing home. It's about home buying strategies and much, much more. This is the Cup of Joe Morning Show. We want y'all to join us every Wednesday morning from 10 a.m. to 12 noon. Welcome, welcome, welcome. As Joe gets his stuff together.
I'm ambidextrous, brother. You know, I can get myself together and talk.
Awesome.
It's like rubbing your belly and tapping your head. Well, good morning, everybody. Again, Malcolm, always good, man.
Yes, sir.
Always good to see you, man. Always good to hear from you. And I know your holiday was solid.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Didn't get everything I wanted, but hey, I'm not a kid anymore.
Listen, but you know what I know we both got?
What's that?
Another day.
Another day to make it. Another day to make it. Yes, sir.
Another day. And that's sometimes all we can basically ask for. So listen, we're going to go ahead and get started here in just a second. I mean, we're here. We're started. So good morning. Good morning to the Real Talk 100 radio audience that's there on YouTube, on Facebook, and on
YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter.
Twitter this morning. So welcome to my clan that is wondering why the heck we're not live yet, because that's what we do. We go live and then the system does what it does, you know what I'm saying? But technology, I've always said, is going to do what technology is going to do, but winners do what winners do. And what we're doing is just rebooting. It ain't gonna stop no show, man. It really is not. You know what I mean? So what we're going to be hollering at you about this morning, first of all, before we say anything, we're going to say Merry Christmas. And we hope that you all had an exciting holiday, and we're anticipating an even greater New Year. So Happy New Year, Happy New You, whatever floats your boat when it comes to New Year's resolutions. We're not ones to do that, but I am one to make assessments, man. And I think what we're going to talk about today as we had picked up and talked about a week or so ago, is how do we, finish one year and starting to the next. So we're going to talk about goal setting because that's something that people always have questions about. And anyone can set a goal. I believe if you want to accomplish something, if you do not set a goal, right, you just run the risk of just being like a ship tossed to and fro in the water, not knowing which direction you're going, not knowing which direction the wind is going to take you or what direction the waves are going to move you. And if you're like, most boats in that scenario, you won't probably get out of the harbor. So we want to definitely set a goal and set multiple goals in some cases to change our situation, right? So our goal here is to give some steps, and I'm going back live here. Let's see if they'll let me do it. I done tagged my people. I want to save it. I want to go done. See how it does me, Malcolm?
Yes, it is not fair, and life is not fair at all.
This is so funny to me, man, because I just did it the first time. It worked. Now I try to do it again. Now it's just stuck.
It's just stuck on stupid, isn't it? I'm sorry about that joke.
No, it's just I don't know what it is, man, but it is what it is. So listen, tune in to and let's redirect those who would otherwise be on our Facebook, my personal Facebook page. Let's redirect them to Real Talk 100 Radio right here on Facebook. And Cindy, if you can help in that effort, I don't know how you can help in that effort, but if you can, that would be swell, right? But what we're going to talk about, Malcolm, this morning is setting goals and the proper way to set goals. I really want my family to hear this, so my goodness, I'm going to try it one more time, but it's like it's stuck, and I don't know why it's stuck.
BG. Who is BG, Felicia? Hey,
That's
said
big. That's big girl. They call each other that. That's my wife's sister.
Oh,
to her.
All right.
She said, "Hey, BG."
Hey, good morning, BG. Good morning. Y'all got me with that one. Felicia Reeves Nunn. Good morning, ma'am. Good morning, Cindy Anita Humphrey, the wife of
Cup of Joe. Cup of Joe.
Cup of Joe. Cup of Joe. Y'all share the video for him as he.
I'm not gonna worry about mine because it just does what it does. It's on its own level.
Please
but listen,
tag everybody that's usually on.
Yeah, and that's what we would suggest. Honey, if you and Felicia could just do your admin and start tagging people to this particular channel as opposed to the directing them to my private one that isn't operating for whatever reason. But listen, guys, no pony is gonna stop the show, and that pony in this case is technology acting up. Okay, so here what we're going to talk about is the 6 steps to goal setting, right? Because most people, let's be 100 with this, most people do not set goals, and for those that do set goals, they might be lacking as far as the strategy and some of the things that actually work. And one of the things that I know that does not work, and let's talk about that first, is doing a resolution that's done at the beginning of the year, and it's done oftentimes with sheer emotion. We're emotional about it, so we don't want to, we don't like the situation that we're in. We don't like the year we had, so we want to get emotional and then say, let's do something different. And that's part of it. You want to get some emotions in it, but let's bring some science to this, y'all. Let's bring some, a system, as it were, that can better allow us to really work the goals and setting the goals. So the 6 steps to setting goals, the first thing is that we must write it down. Now that sounds simple enough, Malcolm, but you'd be surprised how people will set a goal and then leave it in their head. They'll leave it, in the atmosphere. They'll speak it, but there's no accountability if you're just speaking it and you're not writing it down where you can go and, I heard a long time ago that writing makes a man exact, right? Writing, putting it to pen makes a man exact. You know exactly what Malcolm Jackson meant when Malcolm Jackson wrote what he wrote. He penned it. It wasn't a thought that went through the wind and then you just want to figure out, well, what did Malcolm actually mean? Well, it made him, exactly what he meant because he wrote what he wanted you to read, right? Yes. That's where we get that saying that writing makes a man exact. So knowing that most people do not write their goals down, again, the philosophy has always been observe the masses, see what everyone else is doing. If goal setting doesn't work for the majority of the people, why follow suit and do the same thing that they're doing? So always observe what they're doing, but just do the opposite. If you don't know what to do, observe what the masses are doing and just do the polar opposite, because masses of people do not write their goals down, right? So write your goals down.
Now, before you move on,
Mhm.
why do the opposite?
Great question. Here's what I refer to as doing the opposite, and why would I want to do the opposite? The masses of people are the ones who are considered in the 97% who are dissatisfied with their jobs, who are upset because they are living check to check. They hate their boss. Matter of fact, when they look and see their boss, they see a double SOB. You know, we talked about that. That's 97% of the people. They go from one year to the next, hoping and believing that the new year is going to bring something different that the old year didn't bring. And they may even set a resolution that they don't follow through with the tenacity, and they don't do it long enough to get any kind of true results, right? So the masses of people are disgruntled with their jobs. The masses of people don't like the situation that they're in, but don't really have a tangible plan to get out of that. So observe what's going on, but do just the opposite so you can get the opposite. And I'll use the 3% as the opposite. The 3% earn the highest income in America, right? The 3%, and again, I'm not saying that it's all about money, but if you're talking about, if you're talking about bettering your life, sometimes you want to better your money situation as well as bettering your love life and bettering your relationships and all the other things. Because if you got great relationships, bro, and absolutely no money, those relationships are going to suffer somewhat.
That's right.
Because you're not going to be able to fully enjoy, because you're always stressing over what you don't have, the lack, right?
That's right.
So we want to observe what people are doing, but not do what the people are doing. So if you don't know what to do, observe what everyone is doing, and then just do the opposite. If everyone is saying, I'm just going to run to the malls and run up my credit cards because every year about this time, that's what goes on. If you notice everybody's doing that, just do the opposite. Don't go out running up your credit cards, putting unnecessary financial debt and stress on yourself around Christmas time, because Christmas has been so, oh my brother, don't get me on the soapbox, but it's been so commercialized, thank you, and marketed to greed and profitability for the companies of the world.
Yes.
That we'll go broke trying to keep up with the Joneses, or we'll go broke trying to buy our kids stuff that they probably won't even be playing with this time next week.
This time next week, it's over.
It's over.
I'm tired of that.
You know what I mean? So again, observe what everybody is doing. This is a general rule of thumb, but just do the opposite, man, because you don't want to get the results that the majority of the people have gotten and are living in.
So if all the fish are swimming downstream, you swim
upstream.
That's me.
That's what it is.
That's me.
And some people do it by natural happenstance. It's just who we are, right?
Your wife was just trying to help you.
Oh, no, I got it. Well, she's gonna do that, bro.
Right.
That's what my wife is known for doing.
Commercialized is what Christmas is.
They've commercialized it to the point to make it profitable to the big businesses out there. And the bottom line is, that's just an example. But if everybody's running to the mall and doing that, well, if you want to get on the right chord financially, then learn to do the opposite. You know what I mean? And don't do it out of necessity. Do it because, when I say out of necessity, of course it's easy not to go to the bank, go to the mall if you ain't got the money in the bank. But I'm saying, even when you have money, you use the discipline of not going out and running up your credit card bill and credit card debt, which a lot of people tend to do around this time of the year, and it comes back to haunt them a little later. So step one in writing your goals of setting your goals is, once you set the goal, write it down. You know, there's a scripture that says, write the vision down and make it plain that those who read it will run with it. In this case, this is a very personal thing, but guess what? You want to write it down so you can come back and read it at a certain point.
Yes, sir.
And check your progress, right? I think number two is an important thing to writing your goals down. right? It's not just good enough to say, I'm going to start my business in 2024, right? It's not just good enough to say, I'm going to do the things to be um, uh, to be in a position for a promotion in 2024. You want to set a date of completion, right? Be very specific with your goals when you write it down, right? So you want to write it down, but you also want to put a date of completion. When do I anticipate that I'm going to get rewarded for the extra work that I'm putting in, right? If I say I want to lose 30 pounds, that's great. It's great to say I want to lose 30 pounds, but it has more meaning and more texture to it. And it's more tangible when I say I want to lose 30 pounds by March 30th, right? Or March 31st, 2024. That sets an end date to it that gives you now what I believe to be more accountability to your goals, as opposed to free floating it out there. I'm going to lose 20 pounds or 30 pounds. Okay, but when are you going to expect to have done that? That incompletion dates, it gives you a date of completion gives you more accountability, I believe.
Yes, sir.
Number 3 is awfully important because most of people don't, they know about these things, but they don't do what I'm going to suggest, which was suggested to me. Number 3 is list, I'm always writing things down, list the obstacles that will try to stop you or prevent you from getting to your goals. And I'll say that twice because I know that's a lot. It is. List the obstacles, the things that's gonna come and get in your way, that's gonna distract you from getting to your goal. That's important. And that's important because you want to know not only the excitement of doing it, you want to be familiar with the excitement, but when the excitement wanes, you want to put some things in place that's going to carry you through. And one of the things that you want to put in place is knowing the enemies is going to come against your goal and the setting of your goal and the reaching of your goals. Write them down so they won't blindside you, right? It's something about seeing something coming that allows you to prepare yourself to avoid the worst case scenario with that thing. It's the times where you don't see it coming where it can derail you. So it's important to list the obstacles. If you know, for instance, and I'll stick to this 30 pounds loss because that's an easy one to wrap our conversation around, but it can be any goal that you would set, right? You want to write it down. You want to put a date of completion. You want to list the obstacles that you know that are going to try and stop you, like the late night cravings, like the eating a late dinner and going straight to bed, right? It could be whatever that thing is. Those sweets that are in your pantry that call your name at a certain time, they become even more difficult to resist. The more you fight against your own body's will to eat to eat less than what you're accustomed to eating, right? Then again, I use weight loss because sometimes weight loss is not about eating less. It could be about burning off more, but it could be a combination of the two. But list those things down that you know would slow you down and would come to derail you. Number 4, identify who will work with, right? It's always good to have accountability partners. I mean, no man is an island unto himself. If you want to get out of a situation that you find yourself in, first of all, you must recognize the situation that you find yourself in is not always all your fault. You could find yourself in just a vacuum of situations happening. And if you put yourself in a position where you are so hard on yourself, and you rely only on yourself, you might find that there will be times where you're going to need somebody to come through and be a support for you, and you don't have that person.
And not a yes man.
And not somebody who's going to just tell you what you want to hear that's not even helpful. Exactly. A yes man in these types of situations don't really help us. You know what I mean? And that's a great point because having and identifying the people who will work with, the operable words are work with. Not just tell me what I want to hear, not just tell me what sounds good, because if nothing changes, guys, nothing changes. You know what I'm saying? We talked about the dog, the old dog who sat up on the rusty nail all those years, all that time, because he got comfortable sitting on the nail and just moaning about the pain that he was in. Now, if you find yourself being that dog on the porch, get up off the porch and get up off that nail. Do something different this year, right? And this might very well be your blueprint for doing something and accomplishing something different. Okay. So again, identify who you're going to work with. Don't try and put it all on yourself and be Superman or be Superwoman and thinking that you're going to get it all done by yourself, because oftentimes that's just not how life works, right? Number 5 is plan your work and work your plan. Now that sounds real cute. And a lot of people will say that, yes, write it down and all this cute stuff, plan your work. Yeah, and then work your plan. If you're going to do something, I don't care what it is, anything that's going to be considered worth doing, that's going to be changing either your life in certain ways or the lives of other people, you're going to have to plan this thing out. Again, I believe that you have to be on purpose. You have to do things with purpose and be on purpose to hit a target. That means you literally counted the cost, the distance from where you are to where the target is. What range of accuracy would you have to really hit that target? I mean, you got to put things into play, right? So plan your work. Don't just go at it off emotions, because emotions are going to change, guys. Emotions are going to, not only are they going to change, they're not going to be reliable in certain times, because sometimes the emotion might be, I feel lazy today. I don't feel like doing something, but you got to do it anyway, right? But if you plan it out and you write it down, now you hold yourself accountable to it, right? And this is the type of conversation that I would like to have some feedback. So if you would, Malcolm, let's encourage people, whoever might have that's watching, to ask whatever questions or make whatever comments, certainly in the comment section. But we also want to open it up to any kind of dialogue. Again, I think this broadcast is best served by targeting what is important to you guys, as opposed to what Cup of Joe just put on his notes to talk about, right? So if you have questions and you got concerns, if you got some things that you're battling with, put them in the comments, or feel free to as Malcolm gives the number, to dial in and let's talk about it. Let's have some conversations. Let's go ahead and do that. Let's give that number real quick.
The call-in number is 832-560-2885. Call in. We're talking about setting goals in 2024. A lot of us have a lot of plans, but we don't plan our work and we don't work our plan. That's what Joe is talking about right now on the Cup of Joe Morning Show. That number, again, to call in on topic, is scrolling right beneath your nose. It is 832-560-2885. Call in on topic.
Let's go. We'll say the coffee lines are open. This is the Cup of Joe Morning Show. What did I just knock over? My bad. The coffee lines are open, so definitely feel free to dial in. So let's do a quick recap. Number 1 of the 6 steps to goal setting is to write it down. Write down your goal, right? Number 2 is the date of completion. Number 3 is list your obstacles that they're going to try and stop you from reaching your goal, so you won't be blindsided by the action of those things coming your way. Number 4 is identify who you'll work with, right? Don't expect that you're going to be able to solve all your problems on your own. Feel free to choose some champions, man, some warriors to partner with in your endeavors here in 2024. Some of the greatest people that I think anyone would ever want to know about have a team behind them, right? It's not that they're only they're one and only doing the things on their own. It doesn't work that way. Number 5 is plan your work and work your plan. Number 6 is awfully important, right? And this is, again, the 6 steps to, and I sort of gave this out of order, but it's all good. You're going to see how it ties in. The number 6 step in proper goal setting is ask yourself this question: what's in it for me? If you set a goal, ladies and gentlemen, let's be 100 on Real Talk 100 Radio. If you set a goal and don't have anything of benefit tied into you, what you're going to accomplish, what you're going to get, how is life going to be different when you accomplish this goal? You're setting yourself up for failure, in the sense that you're going to probably grow weary in your pursuit of this goal if you don't incentivize yourself, reward yourself. What is life going to be different? How is life going to be different when I lose this 30 pounds? What am I going to reward myself with? Am I going to go and purchase 3 new suits? If that's what I want to do, then yeah, write that down. I want to, by March 31st, lose an additional 30 pounds. As a reward for that, I'm going to buy myself and my wife 3 new outfits. That can be your reward. But you want to have your reward because, again, no risk, no reward. If you're taking the risk, and I call it a risk to say, like an entrepreneur, you go out there and you set a goal and you want to change something, you're operating in a power that it's limited if you don't make the connection of how that's going to benefit you, because it's how we're wired, bro. We're wired to do something and to get a reward. That's why people go to work every day. The reward to them is a check every 2 weeks, right? So it is what it is. So that is I think the crux of what we want to talk about with goal setting, right? Making sure that you follow a simple, proven system. And what is a system? A system is something that saves yourself time, energy, and money. We can write that one down, because once you can put something to a system, it automatically is going to help you save yourself time, energy, and money, right? So with that being said, let's move on. You would think that we're in the Alcoholics Anonymous meeting, because I got 6 steps, I got 10 steps, but I like to take it step by step, because oftentimes, man, you might have a goal to do something, and again, the New Year's this time frame is when people really start evaluating, and making assessments on what they did and what they can do better. And it's good. It's a good thing to do. Don't get me wrong. I just believe a better way of doing it is to say, listen, not only am I going to strive for better this year, I'm going to do it systematically. I'm going to do it within a system, right? And that's, again, it's saving yourself time, energy, and money, and doing it. What's in your cup? Yeah, that's it. When you call in, we're going to ask you what's in your cup. That means, what's your question for the Cup of Joe Morning Show? And we definitely want to encourage you to join us. So what I want to talk about very quickly, as we're waiting on those to call in, are 10 steps to vision. And I think setting a vision for your life. I read a book, and it's actually an audio. It's by a gentleman who wrote this. He had this book in 1957. His name is Earl Nightingale. What Earl Nightingale is famous for writing and actually authoring was an audio book called The Strangest Secret. At the end of the Strangest Secret, what he did was gave us a 30-day challenge, right, of casting a vision. How do you visualize your 2024 to be? I believe, guys, and this might sound a little spooky to some people if you've never done it, right? If you don't like the situation that you're in right now, don't focus on the things you don't like. They're already there. They already have made an appearance in your life. Why put so much energy on them? Don't put the energy on the stuff you don't like. Put the energy and visualize those things no longer being an issue in your life, right? So if your bank account is empty right now, don't focus on the fact that your bank account is empty. Focus right now on what it would feel like to have $20,000 in your bank account. What does it feel like to have $100,000 in your bank account, right? Emotionalize that, right? Don't just think it. Pause, slow down, and take a moment. This is the time to do this, Malcolm. It's between Christmas and New Year's. If there's any time that we can have time and say, woosah, let me think about what it is that I want. I want to visualize. What does Joe Humphrey look like in his new suit now that he's shed another 30 pounds, Malcolm?
30 more pounds.
30 more pounds. What is his health like? right? What is his energy level like for 2024? Because he's shed these unwanted pounds, right? What is his pre-diabetic situation? How is it improved? Has it improved? And in most instances, it's gone away. He's no longer pre-diabetic. How does that make you feel, right? Especially if you know that you have a family that are predisposed to certain diseases. And let's be real, a lot of it is brought on by obesity in America, right? So visualization is really, really keen, right? Here's step one to the 10 steps of vision, right? Number one is what we call getting a definite of purpose. Define what it is you want. Get to know it, become acquainted with it. Write it down, right? And don't just write it down once. Write it down. You know what, Malcolm, you remember when we were kids and we were talking in class and the teacher says, Malcolm, little cup of Joe, go to the board and write 100 times, I will not talk in class.
Yes, sir.
You know why they did that?
Because repetition, a lot of us don't learn unless it's repeated over and over again.
Repetition is the mother of learning. Mm-hmm. So when you write it down, right? And it's not so much that the repetition in of itself, because you're doing two things. You're doing repetition, you're writing it down, which makes it exact, and you're having to say it. Mm-hmm. I will not talk in class. I will not talk in class. Mm-hmm. Even from an elementary perspective. And I don't agree with the American scholastic, I just don't agree with the system, how they could teach us so much more than what they teach us. But they know by the way our minds are made that when you speak a thing over and over, you write it down over and over, you emotionalize it over and over, it does something to your psyche, guys. Yes. It does something to your mindset, right? So get a definite of purpose. A definite of purpose really means, man, whatever it is you want, define what it is, and don't allow anything to prevent you from getting to it. Get your emotions tied into it, right? I believe this, man. I'm going to say this. It might sound spooky to some people, but when we were catching a bus back in the day, now we were grown, so it wasn't like we were just kids catching the bus. But when we got to be adults and we found ourselves in California in a financial situation where we had no automobile, we had no place to stay. It was during that time that I was listening to The Strangest Secret literally all day, every day for over 30 straight days. I mean, whenever I got an opportunity, I had it in my AirPods. I mean, I just had it going, right? I even put it to music to have it go so deep into my subconscious that I didn't have to even consciously think about it. Part of what that audio is talking about is having such a strong, definite purpose that it literally defines you, right? When you think of certain great men and women, it is their definite purpose that is etched in our memory as their legacy. Think about Martin Luther King, right? He didn't just happy-go-lucky, happenstance onto the Alabama or whatever bus boycott back in the day. He did that with definite purpose. He did that with a bigger end in mind, right? To get better conditions for the American Negro at the time. That was his goal. He did it with definite purpose, even to the point that he knew that he was going to be murdered. And he spoke on it on several different speeches, on several different occasions. But that didn't deter him from reaching the goal and that definite purpose. Malcolm X is the same way. Marcus Garvey the same way. Anyone who has something. I mean, we can talk about Steve Jobs. He had a definite purpose, right? Now, of course, he's famously quoted as saying, had he known different, he would have done different, right? Because you work yourself to the bone to the point that you You pursue the wealth at the expense of your health. And now that you got the wealth, you have no health. Now you got to use your wealth to help you with your health. And it's a mad cycle. But the point is, you're not going to accomplish, none of us are going to accomplish anything that is going to be worth noting, worth talking about, especially after it's done, if we do not have a definite purpose, a definiteness, a purpose that will cause us to stay on the battlefield long after we feel like going home and going to sleep. Right? I hope that makes sense what I'm saying. Yes. So the 10 steps, get a definite purpose would be number one. Right? This is about casting visions and having a vision. Know what your why is. Again, write it down. Know it. Become familiar with it. And the why that people talk about it. Why can be, of course, WHY. What hurts you? What do you hate so bad about your life right now that you're willing to go to any length legally and without hurting anyone, including yourself, to change that thing? Whatever that feeling of pain that you have that moves you to change something becomes your why. It fuels your definiteness of purpose. Without a proper why, even if you define what it is that you want to do and you visualize yourself doing that thing, right? If you don't have a why, it's going to be times you're not going to feel that power surge to get up and do something. There are going to be times you're going to be so distracted or you're going to be so discouraged by the results that aren't coming in fast enough, right? That if you don't have something defined and in your belly that gets you up, that makes you say, not today. Yes, I'm tired. Yes, I want to take it. I want to take another day off, but I can't afford a day off right now. I'm in the middle of a 90-day blitz that if I don't give this 90 full days of the rest of my life ain't gonna be worth living. Because what's the point of living my life if I'm living a life where I'm just floating and drifting through life, taking whatever the wind or wherever the wind takes me, and whatever that place I land, I just deal with the circumstances that's found in that place. Who wants to live a life like that? But truth be told, many of us by default live lives like that, where we just go with the freaking flow. I get it. I've been there. But if I'm not happy with where I am, I have to be willing to change what and control what is controllable. Change what can be changed. Right? And oftentimes my why have to be defined because I'm not always going to feel this empowered. Right? Being around other people that have similar mindsets empowers us. Right? But what happens when those voices are silent, or you're separated from those voices, and you hear your own voice that you are so familiar with, and your own self voice is telling you that you'll never do this. You've never done it. So what makes you think you're going to do it this time? You've never been rich. You've never been a millionaire. You've never been on top. And that self-talk, that negative self-talk is enough to stop us or distract us or put us on pause where we should be up running. We're now sitting up deliberating and debating in our own heads if this is even something I can do. I'm painting a picture because I know what I'm talking about, because I'm not saying what somebody else is going through. I'm saying what we go through when we set goals. It's what it is, right? So know your why, define your why, and your why shouldn't just, make you cry, even though I've heard that and I believe that. Your why should make you fly up out of bed, right? Fly, meaning put some speed to your activities, right? Because if you don't, by default what you're going to get. You're going to get what you already got. And if you don't like what you got, matter of fact, if you hate what you got, then the question is, do you hate the pain of where you are more than the pain it's going to take to get you to where you want to go? One of the pains are going to win out. Either the pain of where you are and it hurts you so much that you say, I'm sick and tired of this. Enough is a freaking enough. Or is the pain of change so hard on you that you would rather stay where you are rather than face that situation? Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to tell you that when you find that the pain of where you are is not stronger than the desire and the pain you feel for being where you are and the things you know you must do to change where you are and who you are, if the pain to change is stronger than the pain to stay the same, then you will change. You will do what's required. The beauty that I've learned, guys, and I'm speaking from personal experience, I'm speaking 100. It doesn't get no more real than this when it comes to what I'm talking about, right? I know what to do to change my financial situation. Most of us know what we need to do. If it's slowing down on our spending, or if it's increasing our income a little, and if we can't control how much more we can make, at least we can control how much we spend, because that's two ways of having more money, right? Is either make more or spend less. There's just not too many ways around it. Now, of course, you can do both, and then you're going to be exponentially helping your situation. So Miss Cecilia Gomez is asking, you have to be uncomfortable for a little while to be comfortable. Absolutely. And most successful people, Cecilia, understand that, right? We know that the level of uncomfortability is worth it. It's temporary for us to get through what we got to get through, make the changes we have to make to get the momentum positively moving on our side towards reaching our goals, right? It doesn't happen overnight, right? So we have to be patient with the process, but you are so 100% correct that you have to get uncomfortable, feel comfortable with getting uncomfortable. Because truth be told, unless you're just comfortable with being broke, or comfortable with being obese, or comfortable with being in a bad relationship, or comfortable with having terrible results, if you're comfortable with that, then you're going to probably stay where you are. But truth be told, most of us are uncomfortable even in that. But we got to get even more uncomfortable in order to change that. We got time to get comfortable later. Real talk. Number 3 is write down at least 7 prioritized goals, 7 things that you want to change in 2024. Because everybody doesn't have the same pain, so they are not going to have the same goals, right? Mine might be losing 30 pounds and adding $30,000 to my income this year. Yours might be having a better relationship with your spouse, which of course is mine as well. But mine is my relationship with my spouse is not in any kind of detrimental situation, right? But whatever hurts you, right? Make that your why, but write the goals down. What would life be like? How would life be different if this thing wasn't going on in my life? Or if this thing, a good thing, was going on in my life? Write them down. And they're prioritized goals, which means that they take priority over a lot of other things that's going on in your life, right? Matter of fact, the goal of losing weight takes priority over the fact that I know I got to eat every day, even though I know I got to eat every day. But because I have a goal of losing, and I don't mean losing like, I can't find them. I mean, shedding an additional 30 pounds. That's important to me. That's important to my health, right? It's prioritized over my personal desire to eat what I want to eat when I want to eat it. Is an example of what I'm talking about. Prioritize it, right? Write them. Here's what I suggest. And this is what I've always done once I learned this. I write them down where they're visible. When I write the goals down, and people that used to come to our old apartment, Malcolm, they saw goals of, pictures of Mercedes Benzes, all over the front vestibule. When you first walk in, you just see all these pictures, right? And you saw pictures of houses and pictures of watches and all this stuff that we put to a principle of that you don't always get in life what you want, but you do get what you picture, right? That's the way our psychological makeup is, right? So we feed our subconscious the desire And the subconscious goes to work to make that thing a reality. See, because back in those days, and it wasn't that long ago, it was probably it was less than 10 years ago, we had Mercedes Benzes on our wall. And this is not to be braggadocious in no stretch of the imagination, but it's only to make the point that today we have Mercedes Benzes in our garage, right? 10 years ago, we had a picture of a big old bad house on our wall. Today, we live in a big old, what some people might consider a bad house. Not bad meaning bad, but bad meaning good. Look at. Sorry. You know what I'm saying? That Run DMC thing. So writing visions down and taking pictures of things you desire, that's part of the visualization. I'll even give you a little adjunct. I'll just say this I'll throw this in for free, so to speak, right? Go and get some experiences. Experience the driving through a neighborhood that has nothing associated with your ability to buy in that neighborhood. I'm not saying do what we did and walk around it and claim it in the name of Jesus, because God works by, he works and does things decently and in order. So there's principles that we have to operate in. I don't care if you think you can fly. You want to test that knowledge, go to 18th floor and jump out the window and see if it works. I don't care how much belief you have. We're still governed by certain laws or principles, right? So here's how we can operate within the principles, right? Attain the promises, and not slaughter these principles, right? Some people call it window shopping. I call it dream building, expanding your belief and your conscious level of belief that you go to neighborhoods that have $1 million homes, right? And get a good feeling about it. Feel like you belong, right?
Mm-hmm.
I like what Celia just said too. Having a meeting with your spouse, that's strong. Yes. Girl, you must have been in networking at some point, Ms. Gomez. Having a meeting with your spouse away from home to set your goals for the upcoming year. Powerful.
Yes.
No, that's real. That's powerful.
Yes.
Imagine, Cecilia, if you and your spouse, or a man and his wife, a woman and her husband, were to take a trip to Puerto Vallarta, or take a trip to Mexico City, or take a trip to the Virgin Islands, and in that environment, go over your goals. Can you see yourself? And I mean, because when you're in that environment, it does something for you. I'm telling you, man, that's powerful. That's powerful. Have a meeting with your spouse away from the home to set your goals. Yes, sir.
Cecilia Gomez, thank you for tuning in. She owns a candy company. It's called A Taste of Chamoy. Please put your link down in the comments, Cecilia. We support her. Her candy's good. It's a gummy. It's gummies made with a Mexican twist.
Ah, okay.
So it's got chamoy on it. I can't name all the ingredients, but thank you for tuning in. So I brought that up because you brought up networking. So
absolutely. Yeah. No, and networking is the wave of the future. It's what it is. And I'm not saying network marketing is the wave of the future. Networking is the wave of the future, right? Because Cecilia might be selling, candies, but guess what? She's dealing with human beings that have other things that they need. I might be dealing with mortgages and things of that nature, but guess what? It's the same individual, because the one who needs mortgages also likes what? Candy.
Yes,
so we can always network, right? And of course, I knew you was going to say that. How did I know she was going to talk about vision boards? Don't steal my thunder, Miss Cecilia, because I'm already on this thing. But that's 100%, obviously vision boards. So writing it down and writing down at least 7 prioritized goals. And here's the adjunct I was going to put in there, and I say I'll do it for free. Vision boards are powerful, real talk. I believe writing your goals down on 3x5 index cards and carrying it around with you, as crazy as it may sound, I believe it makes a difference. When we were in a situation that we didn't have what we currently have, I remember writing on these index cards, and I always opened up by saying, I'm so happy and grateful that whatever that goal was, right? And I'm speaking it that I already have it. Here's an example. I'm so happy and grateful now that my office, that I earn $30,000 a month in my mortgage office. I'll say it again so we can make sure that it's not past tense. I'm so happy and grateful now that I'm earning $30,000 a month in my mortgage office. That's actually an index card that's on my pull-out drawer. I see it every day, all day when I go in there. That's the reason it's sitting there, because subconsciously, and I have it written in green, Malcolm, not in red. You know why? Because my brain associates green with profit and red with deficit.
Deficit.
So I put it in green. Just a subliminal thing, right? It's along with the vision boards that's in my office, right? But we want to take those cards and put them where you're going to be able to see them all day long. There are times I've had cards, my wife and I have had cards on our mirror in our bathroom, right? And as we're brushing our teeth, we're reading, subliminally reading, I'm so happy and grateful now that this, that, or the other. I'm so happy and grateful now that this, that, and the other. So it sounds crazy, and it looked crazy. I'm not even gonna lie. Even as we were doing it, it looked crazy when we walked into our apartment and we saw a set of pictures of all this stuff. We had vision. We didn't have a vision board, Miss Cecilia. We had a vision hallway. Our entire hallway was devoted to pictures that we had put up of all different types of vehicles, houses, watches, different trips, boats. And is it a strange thing that those things that we put are now things that we've experienced? It's just the way our subconscious mind works, right? So write them down.
Sink it into existence.
Yeah, because that's the way, man, that's literally how it works. And I think when you know how a thing works, you can work that thing. If you know how your mind works, now as opposed to having our mind work against us, we can have our minds work in congruency with our desire to do better, to be in a better situation, and not be our own worst enemy. You know what I mean? So number 3 is write down at least 7 prioritized goals. Number 4, that sounds even something like we already said. Plan your work. Get a calendar. If we're going to do things on purpose, right? We've got to be willing to do things a little different than what we have done in times past. Right. One of the things that happens with a lot of people when it comes to goal setting is that we become what I call drifters, right? We drift and we free float through points, whatever you define those points as. Maybe it's times where you're thinking about quitting, or you're frustrated. During those times, if you're not combating and replacing that feeling of frustration with the feeling of go get it, you'll find yourself drifting. You're not off the battlefield, but you're not engaged in the pursuit of your goals, right? You're just sort of drifting. Drifting is one of the main reasons why people do not reach their goals, right? So doing what we're suggesting here allows for that, an accountability where you're not going to allow yourself to be drifting from day to day. See, if you drift from hour to hour, it can easily turn into day to day, and then week to week, and then month to month. And then before you know it, you're 65 years old and you look back over your left shoulder and you say, dang, where has all the time gone? Right. One of the biggest robbers of people's ambitions and goals is disbelief that it would happen, right? And because it hasn't happened yet, the voice that you hear more often than anybody's is your own, and you can talk yourself out of your own success. But if you put everything that you're doing and make it more systematic, then even when you're having those bouts with negative conversations, you can always look to your calendar and you can say, okay, this is what I'm supposed, things to do today. So I'm going to give you this other little nugget. Always have a calendar and always have a things to do today list. It doesn't matter if the list is a mundane list, but make it something that you know, if when you accomplish these things, you can say at the end of this day, I may not have affected everything in the world, but I at least affected these things. I did this, I did that, I did this, I did that, and be honest with yourself. Put the goals or the things to do down before the day begins, right? And then by the end of the day and during the course of the day, check to see if you're accomplishing those things. right? If they were important enough to write down, they ought to be important enough for you to see them through to completion. Again, guys, this is different, but it's something that I know literally changes inch by inch. It becomes a cinch, right? So we're going to go now to number 6, which is, we already said it. Oh, I'm sorry. Plan your work was number 4, and getting a calendar. Number 5, and this might sound nuts to some people, but man, remember the Temptations had this song, it was just my imagination once again, running away with me. See, that's a negative connotation of your imagination. But your dream building that we talked about is really your imagination, fueling your most positive imagination. It's literally a nation of images. That's how you can remember. In your own mind, it's a nation of images, imagination. The root word is imagine. Think of things and think of life differently than what it currently is. Think of yourself. Matter of fact, if you were to do this thing, and this comes directly from The Strangest Secret, take on a 30-day challenge of changing 5 things about yourself that you don't like, that you know you can be better at, right? Use your imagination to envision how much better life will be if these things were a reality in your life, right? Because one of the things the reason I'm on this is because we allow the circumstances that we're going through to superimpose themselves and literally smother and choke out our desire for better. We sometimes believe that this just becomes our lot in life, that God has done the best he can do for me and my own. And I just don't believe that. I just do not believe that. I believe that every day could be a day of discovery. Every day could be a day of new manifestations. Every day could be a day that the Lord has made that we are to rejoice and be glad in. Why are we allowing our circumstances to smother literally to smother out our fire, that pilot light that's inside us burning, knowing there's something greater? So I'm speaking to those who believe there's something greater in their life than what they've experienced. They believe they're greater than the sum of their circumstances, right? They want more in life, not for selfish reasons. We want more in life because we want to do more with the life we've been given. And these are tools that I believe, I know, I not only believe it, I know it, right? Because in my mind, the highest level of believing something is knowing it, being familiar with it, knowing it, right? And it's something about knowing, man. Even when we go biblical again, we say Adam knew his wife, Eve. It ain't like he was familiar with her. He knew her, meaning he had intercourse with her. To know something is to literally have intercourse with it. Follow the wording here, because I'm not just making this up, right? So when you know something, it lends itself to something else. Adam knew his wife, so when he knew her, she bore children, right? When we become of knowledge of our better selves, what God has created and how he sees us, what happens is we become intimate with that and we identify with that, and we no longer accept the low bar experience that our life has presented to us. We just say, no, enough of that. And we've seen it happen where people have gone and they were overweight. I'm using that because it's more of a visual, but they could have been broke, or they could have been unhappy, they could have been sad, they could have been all these different things. But then you see them again, and though you haven't seen them in a year, their lives are totally transformed. And you wonder, how did they do that? How did they change their lives from being this to now being what we perceive them to be, which is that? And I'm willing to venture that I don't care who the person is, they've gone through some things that we're talking about now. Having a definite purpose, writing their visions down, writing their goals down, being accountable to their goals, right? Having those closest to us buy into our goals to the point that Miss Cecilia was just making, because if we're truthful, some of the people closest to us are some of the people that some of the things that will become obstacles unto us on why we can't accomplish the goals we have set forth. Because maybe in this thing, we can't accomplish our goals by working 8-hour days. Maybe for 90 days, we're going to have to work 12-hour days. Now, if we have our wives or our better halves or our spouses coming to us saying, hey, we need more time together. And I understand that. Of course, we need more time together. But we can sit in an empty house or in a cold house in the winter or a dark house, you know what I'm saying, with no lights. We can have plenty of time together. Or we can work our plan and put some intensity to it, put some definite purpose to it. And then after 90 days, not only are we not concerned about where our next meal is coming from, how we're going to pay our light bill, how we're going to pay our cable bill, we are in a position to not only not have that be an issue for us, we can help another family, another 2 families, another 5 people to not have to experience and worry about that again, right? If you have definite purpose, you can definitely overcome the obstacles of not just, having your status quo remain your status quo, but you can also impact the lives of others. Matter of fact, I believe that's one of the greatest ways to having a great life is not putting the focus on how good your life is. Help others experience their goals. One of the best ways to get to your goals is help others to reach theirs. Don't focus on, I got a goal to do this, that, and the other. It's great to have your goals, but how does that goal impact the next person? How does that impact your community? See, if you understand the greater impact, then it helps to fuel your why. You're not just doing it for your 4 and no more. Malcolm X was not just moved for what was going on with him and Betty. He was moved by what was going on to the Negro in America. It was a much bigger picture. Same with MLK. Thank you. Malcolm. The same thing with anyone who's done something that has literally left a legacy of greatness. They were probably undoubtedly not just moved to do something for themselves and be benefactors of what they've done. They always saw a bigger picture, right? So number 5 is a very strong imagination. Imagine what life would be like if this were different. And I'm telling you, man, it does something to your psyche. It puts you in a psychological momentum to get those things done. Because the reason we do things is because we believe we can do things. In a lot of cases, the reason we don't do a thing is because we truly didn't believe at the end of the day that we could do it. And I'm not saying making a choice to go to a movie and not going to a movie. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm not wasting these principles on little mundane things like going to watch a movie or going to eat something or another. I'm talking about changing your life in one way or another, right? The decision to do so and the actual task being undertaken is based on our belief that we are going to get what it is that we're expecting by accomplishing this. It's the way we've been wired. Some people are wired more strongly in that regard. They're motivated by success. Some people are motivated by the fear of loss more than the possibility of gain. It's just what it is. And Kenneth Moore says, by helping others, you also help yourself to build your faith. Absolutely. Way to summarize all that I just said, brother, because that's what it is. Helping others, you also help yourself and you build your own faith, your own future, right? In greatness, again, some people can call it like this. Great point, Ken, for sure. Thank you for that. If you draw a circle around the people or persons that your goal is going to impact once it's completed, if your goal and the impact of you reaching those goals only affects a few people, then I would suggest that you expand the horizons of the impact of your goal. I have a good friend that has a goal of positively impacting the lives of 1 billion people. That's his goal. And if you ask him, he'll tell you. He's got it written down everywhere. You go to his house and he lives in $1 million house, man, but he's still got these little funky index cards everywhere. The last time I went to his house was about a year ago, and he had pictures all over that beautiful those textured walls. Now, of course, he didn't he didn't destroy his house, the aesthetics of his home by doing that, but he understands the principles that got him from where he was to where he is. And he believes God isn't done with him, right? Because how many Bentleys does he have to own? How many more Rolls Royces does he have to buy, right? But if you're talking about now keeping the pilot lit on, the pilot light lit to keep the fuel burning, right? To help change. If you already got everything, it's almost like, what's your impetus now? What's going to fuel you if you're no longer in the financial situation you were in before, right? Well, expand your goal to impact the lives of more people. It will keep you busy with that. And I believe it fuels your own well-being by putting your focus on other people, right? So have a very strong imagination. Number 6 is work your plan. We talked about this. Whatever your endeavor, right? There's a thing that I refer to, and I'm going to go to halftime in a second here. There's a thing that I refer to as the copycat theory, right? And somebody might write this down. The copycat theory is nothing more than looking and seeing and identifying someone who is doing something that's more successful or more effective than what you're doing, right? We talked about this a couple of weeks ago about humility, right? The copycat theory basically says that you identify someone who is kicking butt in an area, right? You observe that person, right? And you take some of the best practices that they have, right? So you might see 3 things, and I used to do this all the time. I would go into I've been in sales for a while, so I would go into the leaderboard, which is normally in the lunchroom, right? The break room. They'll have a leaderboard. You'll see, if it's in the car dealership or if it's in the furniture store, whatever the sales environment is, right? You'll see a leaderboard that basically shows the top producers and down to the, if you make the board, you're in the top 10 in most cases. I would always study the top 3 people, right? Identify who they are, and then I would just peep them out. I saw one that was real, comical with he keeps his clients laughing all the way to the finance department. So I thought that was an attribute that I had that I would use. So I copied that. So I found myself being more, instead of being so serious with my clients, I found myself making them laugh. Not trying to be a comedian, because that comes off disingenuous as well, but just sprinkling in, a lighthearted joke here and there to keep the situation sort of light. Another one over here was more definite of purpose when it came to knowing the inventory. So I saw him, when I observed him, he was, before the doors even open, he would go out and walk the lot and know exactly where the red Acura was, know exactly where that white Acura with the peanut butter interior that everybody was talking about, the one that was advertised in the paper, for instance. He knew exactly where it was and where all the advertised vehicles were. He did his extra due diligence that by the time clients came into the dealership, he knew they were coming in based on the ad. He knew exactly where on that big, humongous lot those vehicles were. So I took that and I added that to my repertoire, right? And there was another guy who just came early and stayed late, especially stayed late. He picked up clients almost every single day. And those people that's coming into a dealership or a place of business right before they close, they had a reason for being in there. So most of those late after work interactions led to sales. I learned that from that guy. I found myself sticking late, right? That's the copycat theory, guys. You're just copying the best attributes of these people that are successful, and you're incorporating it into your own best practices. But now you got the unique ability to be yourself. And even though you're copying, because nothing wrong with being a copycat if you copy the right cat. You're just putting your own uniqueness to it. And now you can outdo some of those same people you looked up to. Yes, sir.
What do you say to those who fear or who are scared or who are stopping themselves from utilizing the copycat theory because they're afraid somebody's going to be like, you stole my idea or you stole my swag or
No, it's not. It's not. No, it's just it's well, that's something that's false evidence appearing real. First of all, because if, for instance, you see someone that you admire and you admire them because man, they got tenacity, right? Tenacity is not, you know, like what do you call that? Intellectual property. Like they got a patent on tenacity. So how they gonna get upset because you're being as tenacious as they are, or you copy a pattern that works well for them, and then you take it in and then you regurgitate it. There is no patent on being friendly. There's no patent on making jokes. There's no patent on best practices that leads to success. So that's more dealing with the individual in their mind. Again, man, fear is false evidence appearing real, but it is the lack of faith that causes the fear to derail us from moving forward on something that could otherwise work for us, right? And we don't want to talk ourselves out of, which we do sometimes. We don't want to talk ourselves out of doing something different that could be better for us. You dig what I'm saying? So yeah, I mean that probably happens. I'm sure it does happen, but I believe that there is no patent on these things. It's just best practices that people have used, and I don't think nobody would be offended. I think they'll be flattered because what did they say about
the best
is the flattery? What did it say?
The best. If I'm talking you up, I'm trying to jog my memory. If I'm trying to,
I'm thinking of a certain old saying, right?
Is the best flattery.
A form of flattery. Imitation or something is the best form of flattery or something.
Like that, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, nobody's going to take on a bad practice of someone else by choice. You know, I want that. Joe's late all the time. Let me be late like him. No. It's only going to be these qualities that have shown themselves that are causing these people to be successful. So I know we can go on, and we're going to go on. Let's dig deeper, but can we take a quick break and just rock that quick track, man, so I can get us on to the second half of this show. This again, ladies and gentlemen, is the Cup of Joe morning show. We do this every Wednesday morning, 10 o'clock Central Standard Time, all the way to the high noon hour. And guys, I think moving forward, we're going to get deeper and deeper, and we're going to find ourselves having more and more conversations as we move throughout the year. And we can have this accountability, guys. I think it's great to have accountability partners, you know, people that are doing the things that you want to do, people that are in the vein of the things that you want in life. That's where the copycat theory comes about. Again, it's nothing wrong with being a copycat as long as you're copying the right cat. Real talk.
And your wife said that just a few minutes ago.
Yeah.
It's all right to be a copycat as long as you're copying the right cat. I'm going to put that on the screen right quick. And now we're going to go to a quick commercial break. Thank you, Miss Cindy Anita Humphrey. There it is right there. It's okay to be a copycat as long as you're copying the right cat.
Yes, sir.
We'll be right back, y'all. This is a Cup of Joe morning show. All the topics that were discussed on this show on a weekly basis are on the screen right now at the bottom of your screen, right there at the bottom of the flyer. Call us with your comments on the Cup of Joe morning show. Call in with your comments on topic at the number that's scrolling at the bottom of the screen right after this quick commercial break, 832-560-2885. We'll be right back.
Call in.
Cup of Joe morning show. Cup of Joe morning show. Joe morning show. Cup of Joe morning show. Joe Morning Show.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are back at it once again. Again, this is the Cup of Joe Morning Show, and I'm hoping that the content that we're talking about here today is about goal setting and just having a better life and seeing yourself with a better future, and all these good, positive, and fluffy things really have merit and have, can take some traction and get some traction in our lives here in 2024. Because I believe, and I'm a strong believer, that you don't get out of life, what it is what you say you want. You get what you're willing to fight for. You get what you can picture yourself doing. You can picture yourself being. If you don't see yourself successful, I don't care what guru you talk with, they are not going to be able to convince you otherwise. Matter of fact, we always say a man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still. And sometimes we have bought into life's lie that this is the best that God has for us. This is all you're going to be able to do. I'm just not a believer in that. I believe that you can reshape your entire destiny. You really can. You can reshape your destiny by reshaping your thoughts, reshaping your words, and getting understanding of these principles and operating in principles that literally change the direction of your life. Now, to some people, that's sort of corny, and some people that's like, yeah, that's sort of mystical. But for me, I don't see it as mystical. I see it like this, guys. If you don't like what you're going through, stop complaining about it. Complaining doesn't add 1 cubit to change anything. But if you say, I don't like what I'm going through, let me see what I've been doing to get the results that I have. And if I don't like the results, then I must be willing to change what I'm doing. And now I have to say, okay, I'm willing to change what I'm doing, but what are some of the best practices that I need to be taking on? I know I'm doing things that aren't working. What are some of the things that are working? How do I find those things? Well, the way you find those things is pick a champion. Find someone that you can identify with that will say, that you can say, even from a distance, right? What are some of the books you're reading? What are some of the audios you listen to? Mr. Jackson, what are some of the things that have gone on that made you keep fighting even when you felt like giving up? I mean, sometimes you just want to find people that are in the same power move that you're in.
Yes, sir.
As opposed to, they say misery loves company.
Yes, sir.
I don't want to be around a bunch of miserable people.
No, sir.
So I can be miserable and I feel comfortable because I'm not the only one. You ain't the only one going through this. So don't feel so bad, Brother Joe.
No, sir.
Master don't like nobody reading.
No, sir. I don't want to be around them kind of people at all. And
that's real, man. We have the power to change, and what that change looks like is different for everyone. How is that power manifested? Well, those things are some of the same things. Power is manifested through belief, right? And I'm back to my list again. So I think I went and took a step forward. I stopped off at number 5, right? And number 5 was actually have a very strong imagination. Then we went to number 6, which is work your plan. Whatever the best practices that you found at your job, at your profession, right? Every company should have a best practices list of things that have proven to work. Now I'm in a mortgage office, so if times are slow, which times are, the successful mortgage person is going to go in and they're going to learn more about products and services that company offers, right? They're going to go and learn a tool that can now help them promote themselves to a new group of realtors, knowing that you're not just taking the old Joe to a bunch of new people. I've taken the time to learn some new things. So when they see me and they get to the introduction to me, they're getting an improved me than what they might have had they met me last year or 2 years ago. We call that sharpening your axe. So in slow times, as successful people, we sharpen our axe. We prepare ourselves for the increase. We get into the right mindset. We speak the right words. We attach those words to the right emotion. Sometimes negative emotions can fuel you to move out of the situation, because if it hurts you worse than the hurt that you experience of doing the thing that brings change, then whatever hurts you the most is going to win out. So the pain, in this case, the negative emotion of not having what I want in life, right? Not just me, but my family not having what we want in life. And I take responsibility for that as the husband, as the breadwinner, whatever the case may be, right? That pain is, if it's deep enough and it hurts you enough, we can convert that to fuel, right? To get up out of the situation that we find ourselves, right? So we work our plan, whatever plan that's set forth, work it. Don't stop. If you got a list of 100 people that you have to reach out to, don't stop at 40 and say it don't work. Reach out to the whole 100 people. Now, while you're going through that list of 100 people, make some pit stops. Every 10 person you call and you reach out to, if you're not getting the results you want, then listen to what you say. Record yourself in the next 10. Listen how you sound when you talk to someone. Because if you're in sales, Malcolm, let me do a little test with you. If you're in sales and you're selling apricots, if I go to you, Malcolm, and say, Mr. Jackson, fair day to you, sir. Would you like 1 or perhaps 2 apricots? The first one's free. Or, Mr. Jackson, you look at me, sir. You don't want no apricots, do you?
No.
Thank you.
I don't.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I appreciate it.
I don't like them.
If the latter is our cause we're making, then yeah, don't go through 100 people with a negative, message, right? Negative messaging. Be more positive, right? And I'll say this because I just believe it's something that needs to be said. There is somebody out there that's looking to start a business and they're questioning whether or not they should start this business, and they don't have enough love for the product, for the industry, for the service to say that's not for me because I don't love it. Let me dispel a notion, ladies and gentlemen. The owner of Purina Dog Chow or Cat Chow does not have to be dogs or cat lovers. They do not have to own a dog or a cat, and God forbid, they do not have to eat the food themselves. That is not business. That's personal stuff. So people will put a personal opinion and think it's a business principle. It doesn't matter if you love the industry or you love this or love that. Back to the cat and dog food analogy. The reason that person, whoever the owner of Purina Dog Chow and Cat Chow, it wasn't that they owned dogs or cats necessarily. It weren't that they loved them. It wasn't that they were going to eat the food themselves. They knew there was a need in American culture, that there were millions of people who own dogs, who own cats, and they're living organisms that have to eat. So they decided to create, the niche was created. They just went to fulfill the niche. We create the food for the cats who are owned by the cat lovers and the dog lovers, right? And they have become multi, if not billionaires. So dispel the notion, whoever you may be, to think that you have to love the industry, love the product, love the service in order to participate in fulfilling the need. Guys, it's an emotional mistake to think you have to be mentally and emotionally in love with an industry in order to operate and become profitable in that industry. Man, I wish that hand clap would just pop right there, because that probably is the deepest thing I said in 6 weeks. Because people are always looking for a passion that moves them.
always looking for a passion that moves them, and you do deserve a hand clap, sir.
So let's be 100. Our jobs that we build our whole life around, we go to bed early to make sure that we're not sleepy in the meeting the next day. We regulate everything about ourselves based on our jobs. Most people, statistically, do not love their jobs. They don't. But they do it with a consistency that is warranted. But imagine if you took that same consistency and put it towards your own business, a home-based business, which to me, through the pandemic, has now become a number one option for many people. Working from home, from the comfort of your own home, supplying the need of whatever your clientele actually has. You do not have to have a passion for it, no more than you had a passion to work, tool, and die. You didn't have a passion to work in the oil and gas. You just knew it was going to be profitable because your company was fulfilling a need that's generated in the oil and gas industry. Stop making personal preferences business decisions and business best practices. That's why most self-employed individuals that start a business, that business fails because they're trying to apply their personal understanding, their personal preferences, their personal experiences to that business, and it does not always work that way. It's just real talk. So work the plan that you have in front of you. And if no one has been successful with this plan, then create a plan where one might be successful. Right? I believe a broke clock tells the correct time at least twice a day.
At least twice a day.
Right?
Yes.
So if you're doing something, you might be even wrong doing it. The fact that you're doing something, you're putting kinetic energy out there. A broke clock tells the correct time at least twice a day. Right? So I say that only to say, go out and do something, hopefully positive to impact change. Right? And here's number 7. And it's a big word. Ooh, a big word. It's called trust. When someone tells you trust them, what's the first thing you do, man? Not trust them.
Not trust.
Because we've been wired that way.
Yeah.
Most people that say, trust me, I won't do any harm. That's likened to the snake, right? Remember, let me tell you the story, Malcolm. It's a story of the snake and the hiker.
Okay.
Right. And it speaks to trust. Right. Well, there was a snake. Well, let's speak of the hiker first. The hiker was hiking up this mountain. And as he got closer to the top, he ran across this snake. Now, of course, those that know, the higher you go in a mountain, the thinner the air is, the cooler the temperatures are. So this snake was literally on its last belly. Not his last leg. He was on his last belly because it was about to perish. It sees the hiker and it pleads with the hiker to say, please, Mr. Hiker, can you pick me up and put me in your coat to keep me warm, lest I die of freezing? And the hiker like, no, you're a snake. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to. You're going to bite me. He said, no, I'm not. I promise I won't bite you. Listen, listen, I'm surely going to die if you leave me here. I'm just asking. And I have little snakes at home that are waiting for me to come home, so they need me. So can you please just put me in your jacket to keep me warm just for 5 minutes, just so I can warm up and then slither my way right back down this mountain and do the things that us snakes do.
Yeah.
Well,
sounds good.
As the story unfolds, the hiker goes against his best knowledge, his best practices, and he picks up that darn snake and he puts him in his jacket, zips it up. Before he could take 2 steps up the mountain, he's bit. Of course, he throws the snake out and he's PO'd at the snake. And he says, listen, you told me that you were not going to bite me. You promised me you were not going to bite me, snake. And all the snake did, Malcolm, was look at him and go, I'm a snake, man.
Yeah.
Can't change my nature because of my circumstances.
Can't change.
Now, we may not think that little goofy story has anything to do with what we're talking about, but
does.
sometimes, man,
It does.
trust can be misplaced.
Yes.
We want to have trust, ladies and gentlemen, right? But we also must know the nature of a thing, right? And if we're trusting people who have always been late, always been slothful, always been less than grind, they had something about them that they were more, they had no get up and go about them. But they're the ones that's promising you that, oh, I'm going to do this. Oh, we're going to start a business. Oh, we're going to do this. We're going to work. Man, listen, treat it like the snake. Treat it like the snake. You don't kill the snake. You ain't got to. You ain't got to kill it. But no, you ain't going to change its nature.
No.
And the fact that it's saying what it's saying, you know it's lying.
It's lying. It's the nature of a snake.
It's the nature of the snake. Right? That's why it speaks with a forked tongue. Right?
That's right.
Now, some people gonna kick me for this, but sometimes when it comes to goal setting, Malcolm, we become our own worst snake. We tell ourselves things and we know we ain't gonna do it. We're speaking with a forked tongue. So what I'm suggesting is that you have to, in order to change your nature, at least change the environment and the best practices in which you're operating. Do something different than you've done the last 18 times, right?
Yes.
Because there's nothing wrong to have 17 businesses that have failed, and here you are now on the 18th. Of course, no one believes it's going to work, right? But as long as you fail forward on this 18th time, it might be the thing. But you need to stop lying to yourself, right? And saying you're going to do the work, knowing good and well you're not going to do the work. It would be better to say, I'm not going to do the work, rather than lie to yourself and say, I'm going to do it, and then don't do it because you didn't write down those enemies that's going to come against you. And when those enemies showed up, you had no plan of attack, right? So what we're talking about, all that I'm talking about with these 10 steps and 6 steps, is really to insulate ourselves from our own human nature, right? Because our human nature is to flee and avoid pain. Pain avoidance is part of our genetic psychological makeup, right? And we'll do anything to avoid the pain. That's why there's conversations, tough conversations with people that we need to have in our life. We keep putting it off. Why? Because we don't like to be confrontational, because it makes us feel uncomfortable, right? But I'm here to tell you that your comfort zone is your broke zone. If you want to be not broke in 2024, get uncomfortable. Put yourself in uncomfortable situations. I'm not saying compromising situations. I'm saying uncomfortable situations, right? And trust that the work that you're doing, right? The product that you're promoting, the services that you're promoting, study them out. Know that they're good products and good services. Matter of fact, they're great products and they're great services. I would say become a product of your own product. Before you tell somebody to buy something for you, buy it for yourself, right? Before you have somebody test something out on themselves, test it out on yourself. Become a product of your own product, right? Render your own service to yourself. And if it works for you, then you can speak with more confidence that it's going to work for someone else, right? But trust the process, guys. We've got to do something different. I feel like John the Baptist crying out in the wilderness, do something different. If you want something different, stop doing the same things over and over and over.
Insanity.
That's insanity, right? So if you show me someone that says, I've been doing this for 10 years, Joe, I got 10 years experience. Man, you might have 10 years of doing the wrong thing. You might have one bad year, you duplicate it 10 times. So the fact that you've been doing it for 10 years is not the big thing. It's what it is that you're doing. How consistently are you doing it? And believe this, if you're not doing anything, you're doing something, right? And if you think not doing anything has no impact, don't do anything for 30 days and see if that impacts your life. Because not doing something is doing something. It's going to be a cause and effect, regardless if you put in some energy towards something or if you just throw your hands up, sit on your butt, and say, I'm not going to do anything for the next 90 days. You're still doing something, right? But don't you twist the principles to think that if you do nothing, you're going to get something that nothing didn't produce. You can only get what you plant. That's just the nature of seed time and harvest. You cannot expect a different harvest than what you planted in the seed, because every harvest is already programmed in the seed. When you plant an apple seed, it's going to yield a harvest of apples, hopefully. I don't care if it's mislabeled. If you put an apple seed or put apple seeds in orange seed packages, I don't care if your expectation is to see oranges pop up. Guess what's going to pop up? Apples. Because you identify that's the seed. It might be in the wrong package, but that's the seed. And whatever's in the seed, the harvest is programmed in that. It's just what it is, right? So with that, understand how we work, right? Tell yourself the truth. No need to lie to ourselves. If you're not going to be willing to get uncomfortable in 2024, stop going around saying how you're expecting so much change in 2024. You're just lying to yourself. Now, that's big boy conversation. Is not really winning a lot of friends, but hopefully you understand the realness of it, right? So trust your product, stay plugged into the process, and say to yourself, it's already working for me, even if you don't see the work, even if you don't see the manifestation. Now, that might sound like a contradiction, Malcolm, that I said, don't lie to yourself, be honest with yourself. But now I'm saying lie to yourself and say it's working. Understand it is working, even though you don't see it. See, we rely on our sight so much that if I planted a tree, if I don't see the tree coming up to the ground, I say that my seeding had no effect. But I don't know what's going on underneath the ground. And every seed must first be planted. Then it must go through a process of dying before there might be a new birth. And that's all going on underneath the surface. You're not going to be able to see all that. So all you're doing is speaking a positive affirmation that it's working for me. What I'm doing, I'm trusting it's working for me. Because you're not going to see the results immediately. So you have to trust the process, right? And I'm going to throw this one in just for, just a freebie. Yes, sir.
I wanted to add. I wanted to add. You mentioned the root. Mm-hmm. A tree is growing before it starts growing on top.
Absolutely.
It's growing the root first.
Absolutely.
With water and nurturing. I liken that to the glacier.
Mm-hmm. Right.
They always show you the part that's on top.
On top, and it might be this big.
It might be that big,
but the bottom is like this.
The bottom might be 300 feet long. Yeah.
Right. That's real tough.
Yeah.
And that's a great analogy, man, because a lot of times we look at progress like that glacier because we only see the tip of it coming out. So we don't think as much. Man, don't you know the good work you've done to start Real Talk 100 Radio is likened unto a glacier?
Yes.
Right. Most of the work and most of the manifestation is under the surface of the water.
Yes.
But it's massive.
Yes.
So we keep going because we have a knowledge that it is massive. We are doing good work. We trust the process. We trust the activities that we're doing, even though it doesn't manifest itself. We haven't reached FM status yet. But you don't think listen, you think that it's not working because that manifestation hasn't happened yet? No. It's working. So we keep doing it. Mm-hmm. We keep doing it. Even if we see, that's where faith comes in, guys.
Yes.
You do something, right? And belief, faith and belief, because I think faith is a again, I always got to sort of pre-qualify that I'm not trying to preach at anyone, right? But just understand that faith is an action word. That's why the Bible says faith without works is dead. That means you can say you have faith for something, but if you're not willing to put action to it, works towards that thing, then you're not operating in faith. You're operating in something less than faith. And the Bible says it's dead. It's nothing living, nothing producing, nothing life generating when you do nothing. But if you do it in faith, meaning what it looks like, I'm not even concerning myself with that. I don't concern myself with what my bank account looks like on December 27th, 2023. It literally has no bearing on what my 2024 and my 2025 has in store for me. Real talk. So if we look at things and we need to get a confirmation by what we see, then we're not operating in the faith. And faith also is a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it becomes, right? So I was going to give you a little, what I called you, I was going to give it to you for free, but right when I paused, it escaped me, Malcolm. So I have to just come back to it. So number 7 is trust. Number 8 of these top 10 steps to vision and training yourself to see beyond sight, to see beyond your circumstances, right? Number 8 is belief. And I think it should be higher, but I just put it as number 8, right? When you believe something, listen, it doesn't matter what anyone tells you about it. You believe it enough that you move, and sometimes an internal thing. It's not like it's the masses are believing. Sometimes it's a one-on-one thing. I believe this thing will work, so I'm going to go out and do something. It may not be any evidence because I have no evidence in my past that this thing has worked, but I believe this one is going to work. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put the proper action to my belief, and I'm going to turn that belief into faith, right? Which is seeing and believing something, or should I say believing something before we see it. That's what faith is, right? We don't see it, but we hope for it. Matter of fact, I used to always teach that hope is a component of faith, but hope is the invisible thing that moves in our faith, right? And think about it. And the Bible says that we're saved by hope, but hope that is seen is not hope. Because if a man sees what he hoped for, why would he still hope for it if he can see it in manifestation?
If it's tangible already.
If it's already tangible, we're not hoping for that. We're hoping for what we don't see. So I don't see the thousands of dollars in my bank account. I don't see the six-pack abs when I take my shirt off. I don't see the health and wellness when I get the doctor's report. I don't see my kids being scholars and being gentlemen or being priests or being good husbands because I'm seeing the foolishness that they're going through right now. We have to ignore what we see, and we got to look beyond our natural eyesight to have a belief and a faith that things are different than what they might appear to be. Matter of fact, if you take an optimistic person, they will say you're in the best position that you would ever want to be in to reach your goals when you're in a bad position, right? It's sort of like hope. Why would you hope for something if you got it? Why would you put so much energy towards something if you already got it? But the fact that you don't have it and you want it so bad and you have a definite purpose about it, right? And you got a why on why you want it so bad, then you'll go out and do the proper activity, regardless of how that activity makes you feel, right? You do it and you do it and you do it until it gets done. That's what successful people do. They don't just think about it. They don't just talk about it. They do it. Sometimes I talk about something, and this is personal, and I get upset with myself. And I'm like, Negroid, go do it. You're talking about it. Don't talk anymore about it. Enough talk. Do it. So I don't like to talk about stuff that I'm not doing. That's why I can talk about with passion what I'm reading to you guys. This is coming from an old manual that I wrote years ago, and it's called Taking Notes when Rich People Are Talking. Just take notes. And then study the notes. Most people that go into a Dale Carnegie or what's our guys, Anthony Hopkins, they go to these different events, conferences to that gurus put on, right? And they go and they take copious notes. They are always taking notes, but never go back to the notes. You know why I always take notes, man? Because I realize that I'm only going to retain about 35, 40% of what someone is sharing with me when they're like giving an open lecture, or if it's a podcast, or in this case, a radio show. You're not going to remember everything this man said in the last 2 hours. So we take notes, but those notes are made even more useful when you refer to them, when you refer back to them. Once this program is long gone and you say, okay, that was a great show, Joe. It was good information. You know, that really helped me. If somebody tells me right now, that's really helped me, Joe, I'm really, yeah, man, you say that, but you ain't been helped yet. Because you got to take this information, you got to regurgitate this thing. You got to take this information and you got to really work it, you know. Even if you don't believe, borrow somebody else's belief, because the belief is what's going to make you do something. If you don't believe it, you ain't going to do it. So I suggest borrow somebody else's belief who's already done what it is you're looking to do. And I'll ask them, hey, is it okay if I borrow your belief on this, bro? Because I ain't quite seeing this. And they'll be like, man, of course. I believe enough for both of us. I believe enough that it worked for me, that it'll work for you as well, Cup of Joe. See, I got dozens of people in my life that talk to me just like that. People that are asking me the same way I'm asking them. And I got people that I'm asking the same way I'm being asked. I ask very successful people that I know, what books are you reading and which ones would you suggest I read? And I got people coming to me and asking, Joe, what books are you reading and what book would you suggest I read? It is a natural progression, man. You know, there's always someone that's going to be doing better than you. There's always someone, people that's going to be doing worse than you. We don't compare ourselves to anyone. All we do is run the race with the lane that we've been given. But we do have best practices that have been proven to work in other lanes. So work them in your lane, right? Real talk. So we got to have trust and we got to have belief, because belief is going to put the impetus to us putting some work to it, some action, right? Oh my goodness, this goes deep here, man. You got to know the vital signs that's happening in your business. Once you have your business up and running, you know, you want to be able to look at your business and say, hey man, what are some of the vital signs to a healthy business, or the vital signs to a healthy endeavor? Do I get up out of bed and strive and make some things happen? Or am I having to be told, Joe, get up out of bed. It's time to get up and go to work. No one should be having to tell us grown people that it's time to get up and go to work. And I'm not saying get up and punch a clock necessarily. I'm saying get up and go to work. Sometimes you got to work harder on yourself than you work even on your business. Get up and go to work. Get up and do something. Read a book, read some audio, listen to some audios. Apply what it is that they're telling you, right? A lot of times people think, again, just by going in and writing, taking notes, that they've done the part. Well, if you don't go and refer to those notes and really refresh and become acquainted with that information again and constantly, it doesn't matter that you went to that event. It's going to be fleeting. The memory is going to be fleeting. The emotions you felt at a certain time when you said you was going to do this and you was going to do that, when you were at that conference, you was on fire. It was 10,000 of y'all with that energy and that synergy. But now that you're back at home, all those 10,000 people are at their homes. You're at your home, and here you are faced with the same demons that you're always faced with, of complacency, of just laziness, of boredom, of just being fearful, right? Whatever those things that stop us from reaching our goals, right? But in like manner, you can't just say, you know, I'm gonna do it halfway and expect to get the full result. How many people go into a soda machine, and if it says $1.10, you put 50 cents in there and say, you know, where's my soda? And start kicking the machine. This machine don't work. No, you just didn't put enough in there. You didn't count the cost, and you didn't put enough in there to get what it is you want. I think success is very simple like that too, Malcolm. It is, man. I want $30,000 per month in my mortgage office. I cannot be doing $10,000 a month worth of work.
Right.
Truth be told, I need to be doing $50,000 worth of work.
Because after taxes, you're only
gonna get 30,000. You know what I'm saying? So having vital signs to this, knowing what's important to keep life going with your goals, with your dreams. Just like the vital signs of a human being lets you know if their heart is beating strong, you know, or if they got a good pulse, which is still speaking to their heart, right? What's another vital sign?
You got me. I'm
not a medical. If my wife was sitting here, she would say, yeah, the vital signs to know that you're, you know, you got your blood is flowing properly. You got, you know, when you go get a checkup, they're checking on certain things. They check your vitals.
Yeah.
They want to check to make sure your pulse rate is right.
You got me on that.
But, you know, that's the point. You know, so the vital signs of your business And the vital signs of this endeavor is similar. What are the things that's going to be important that I can track and I can say, okay, I said I was going to do something different in 2024, right? Have my dreams and my goals flatlined since I set them in January 1st, 2024? Or is it now March 1st and I'm still vibrant? I'm still moving. My heartbeat is still pumping blood. You know what I mean? I'm talking about my goals. Am I reaching the bare minimums of my daily activities to reach the goals that I want to reach? We don't set a yearly goal and not expect that we got to manage it monthly, manage it weekly, manage it daily, and sometimes manage it day by day and moment by moment times to make sure we're in congruency with the success that we say that we want. I can't say that I want to lose 30 pounds, but I keep overeating. And when it's time to work out, I say, I don't have time to work out. It's not going to happen by osmosis. It's going to happen by us doing something different. And sometimes the beauty of it is we don't even have to do something drastic. We can just stop doing one thing that's negative and start doing something else that's positive. And the contrast from doing that negative thing and not doing that positive thing is just as good as you basically just doing something double and getting double for your trouble, because you're stopping some negative items and activities in your life and you're taking on some positive activities in your life. You dig what I'm saying? It's good that you just stop eating so much, but not only are you going to stop eating, you're going to start working out more. Working out more and overeating are two total polar opposite activities that's bringing different results. And if our goal is to lose weight or to shed pounds, be more healthy, then we take those activities that lends itself towards that. In this case, not eating so much, taking things off our plate and working out, putting something on our plate. We got to be real with ourselves to do what is required to do and to fuel ourselves long enough that it gets done and we get some results. All right. So trust and belief and vital signs are also important. The number 10 thing when it comes to the steps to having a vision, and we're doing vision training here this morning, guys, is to see the end from the beginning. I keep saying the same thing, man, because it's what it is. Write down what my life looks like as a multimillionaire. Write it down. I'm not guessing. I'm literally drawing on a blank canvas, because everyone doesn't see themselves, first of all, as a multimillionaire. And even if you did, it doesn't mean the same to everything. Everyone has different definitions of success and have different things that move them and motivate them, right? Everyone does, and that's okay, you know? So see yourself with the end that you desire, and see the end from the beginning, meaning use your imagination. You see what things are right now. No need to speak on that. Most people start speaking on how they're disgruntled about the situation they're in. We already know you're disgruntled. We already know that you don't have any money. We already know that you have this. We already know that. We already know that. When I say we, I mean you and everybody around you knows that already. Let's put our energy towards convincing our mind to imagine what life would be like as a multimillionaire. In this instance, what does that mean? What does that look like, right? How do I interact with my wife differently? How do we set goals? How do we set activities, daily activities, or weekly or monthly activities? Are we more active now because we got more money? I mean, whatever it looks like, write it down, right? And it's literally rewarding your subconscious so you can see the better you is going to come out of all this work. Give yourself something, and that's paying yourself. You're giving yourself something to do it for, right? So write down what your life looks like once you reach your goals, and use affirmations, man. As I talked about before, pictures. Put yourself into the picture, right? I used to take pictures of Mercedes Benzes back in the day, bro. And not only did I take a picture of the Mercedes, I would go inside the Mercedes Benz and I would feel the leather steering wheel, right? And I don't have to test drive it. I just feel the interior. I sniff and smell the newness of that leather. It just has a different, a Mercedes smells different than a Chevy. It just does. Let me go on mine, because if I don't finish my thought, I ain't gonna come back to it. Give me 1 second. Write it down. I'm joking, man. So be willing to do affirmations and take pictures. To the point I was making with the Mercedes, I would get in the car and to capture the moment, I would take a picture of my own hand. Again, it sounds crazy, but I know my hand. I'm working with my own psyche. I know Joe Humphrey's hand. So I took a picture, and I did this a lot, of my hand on the steering wheel of that Mercedes. When my buddy let me get in the cockpit of his Lamborghini, I did the same thing. I took a picture of my hand on the steering wheel. I clearly saw it was a steering wheel of a Lamborghini, and I clearly saw that it was my hand. So whenever I look back on that picture, the emotions of that moment comes into place. And I start seeing myself owning that vehicle, seeing myself driving that vehicle, right? That's where pictures come into place. The third thing I think, and this is just something, these are just bonuses, we call it PD. PD is personal development. We need to OD on PD, overdose on personal development. Because what does it profit me to bring what I have in my noggin to a new situation, knowing that my noggin and what's been produced out of my noggin has been situations that I don't see as desirable. In other words, if I want to be something that I'm not currently, I can't go with the same mindset that's got me into the current situation that I find myself. Matter of fact, some scholars said the current mindset that you've used that has led you to the predicament, the current predicament that you find yourself, that mindset is not adequate to get yourself out of it. You need to change your mindset. You need to, because your mindset has given you what you got. What you've gotten, you made an assessment. I don't like it. I don't like it enough that I want to stay here. I desire change. Whatever mindset you had that got you to that point, you've got to change your mindset to get yourself out. It just speaks to that insanity thing again, right? So we refer to this as personal development, reading books and getting the information from successful people, right? Listening to audios. But it's not just the reading and the listening, it's applying what they're saying in these audios, right? That's the key. That's where the personal development comes in. Not just reading the book, not just watching and listening to the audio. It's taking whatever advice they're giving you and start applying it. And as you start applying it, you start getting better, right? And that's the development. That's the personal development. Not just the reading of them, and not just the writing, or the listening, but it's the application, doing something that will now cause you to gradually, step by step, get better at it, right? So OD on PD. And here's another thing that I spoke of with the Mercedes and with the automobiles. Same thing with driving through neighborhoods. Get a clear, vivid exposure of what it is that you really, really want. If I wanted to, I didn't just want a Mercedes Benz. I wanted a lifestyle of having a Mercedes Benz. So it wasn't like I was going to have a Mercedes and I was living in my parents' basement, or I had a Mercedes, I was living in an apartment. No, I wanted the lifestyle of having that Mercedes, right? It's the same way when who wants to buy a house and then look at the house as it's a goal and a vision on your board, but you're not imagining the lifestyle of living in that house. You want to encapsulate all of that and get your emotions, your positive emotions involved with it. That's what really makes a goal stick, is when you put an emotion to it, right? That's why you show me a passionate person, I show you someone who has the right programming and the right wiring to get anything that they want in life. Because if they can put passion to this, they can put passion to this, right? And it's that passion sometimes that will get you from where you are and the struggle of fighting through where you are to where you want to go. It's that passion that's going to do it for you, right? Did you want to kick it in now, or are we going to do summary?
Yes. I wanted to. Cecilia Gomez
Mhm.
said something in relation to what you're talking about,
Right.
visualizing the things that you want, and
She's-
she
Mhm.
quoted Steve Harvey.
Right.
Steve Harvey says to buy a first class plane ticket to anywhere for the experience, so you know what you have to do to keep flying first class.
There you go. You get that experience. Matter of fact, it's a clear, vivid experience of it.
Mhm.
Because again, that's taking it to a whole different level. I can vision, for instance, on my vision board, right, on my index cards, that I'm going to take a trip to Dubai. But when I actually go and purchase a ticket, first class ticket for Cindy and I to go to Dubai, and we absorb it, no matter what it took to get there, is what Steve Harvey's talking about. Just know whatever it takes to get there. It might have been a struggle to go to Dubai the first time, but when you find that you go to Dubai twice a month, trust me, it's no longer a struggle because you've taken that experience, and now you built upon that and you make it real. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is basically all my time here today, but I definitely hope that this was not a ramble session, that these principles, as far as being aware and keenly aware on how to set your goals and actually doing the work, right? I think it will literally change your life. It's changing my life even as I'm sharing it. Most of what I'm sharing right now is what my wife and I went through from being homeless in California to living where we're living currently, driving what we're driving currently. But to think that we're no longer operating with the same principles and best practices, then we're not being, we're not, well, you don't understand how this thing works, because success is a moving target. And it's not about being greedy, but once you have a life of driving Mercedes Benzes, and you say, I want to have the same equivalent step up, right? Well, the next step up is going to be Bentleys, So what do you think I have on my walls? I'm not a materialistic guy, guys, but I just do believe I know how my mind works, right? Because the Bentley doesn't represent just getting a car. It's the lifestyle that comes with the Bentley. Because I'm not talking about getting a Bentley and then, again, renting an apartment. So it's not about that. It's about what I perceive, or what you perceive to be, what life would be like to be in ownership, to be in possession of this thing, right? So with that, guys, again, I hope that this hit home with some people. And I certainly hope that we all collectively have the most impactful and positive and prosperous 2024, because we're only 3 or 4 days away from 2024. And just know, we said things and we put things on our I don't know, on our doors, on our mirrors and things that we were going to do in 2023 that may not have materialized. I'm here to tell you, if you're doing the right things, if you find yourself believing the right way, those things that you have beliefs for and desires for, they will come. And when they come and show up, they will be acquainted with you by your success. And success, again, is not just making a bunch of money. Again, it's the progressive realization of a worthwhile ideal that you put energy to. You said, this is the current circumstance. I set a goal to change that circumstance, and I put energy towards that. Success will come. The money will come. The results and manifestations will come. And I'm here to tell you, it changes your life. And you can never go back. And I'll say that. You will never go back. I'll be able to go back to going to accepting what life has to offer, and any old negative thing that comes your way is just your lot in life. It's like you can't go back from being 55 to being 22 or being 18. You don't want to go back, and you have no ability to go back, right? You've outgrown that. Some of us need to outgrow our circumstances, and many of us are. That's why we're agitated in our circumstances, right? We've outgrown them. But now we got to get up from that little bitty chair and know that there's a throne sitting, waiting for you to sit down on, King. There's a throne waiting for you to sit down on, Queen. Visualize the throne and get up from that little chair you're in. It might hurt to do it, but it's going to be well worth it. I'm Cup of Joe. I love you guys. Merry Christmas to you and Happy New Year. This is the Cup of Joe Morning Show. I turn it over to Malcolm. Let's close it out, baby.
All right, y'all. Thank y'all for all of the comments. Thank you for all the shares. Thank you for all the likes. We thank you for joining another edition of the Cup of Joe Morning Show. As we go out today as we close the show out today, I'm going to put the flyer up so you know what to tune in for on our next edition of a Cup of Joe Morning Show, which will come next Wednesday night and every Wednesday night from 10 a.m. to 12 noon. There it is right there on the screen. That is all that he talks about. Today was personal development. Develop yourself. Envision what you want in this upcoming new year. That's all we got today. Happy New Year, everybody, from the Cup of Joe Morning Show and Real Talk 100 Radio.
Cup of Joe Morning Show. Cup of Joe Morning Show. Cup of Joe Morning Show.